Some teams have a quarterback. Other teams have a quarterback room filled with multiple quarterbacks. What's better?
I think my first inclination is to go, oh, this is obvious. Quarterback. Of course you want the quarterback. And I'm
still, curveball.
But
curveball. He tipped his pitch.
I think more than ever, quarterback room is starting to enter the conversation because you're seeing how many quarterback injuries were there last year? I mean, it was all over the league. Of course, the 49ers, they're going to get their fair share every year, but every quarterback, like Hurts missed games. Dak, we know, has missed a year. Lamar went out. Allen, they just didn't have a good option, so he played through a UCL injury. We almost saw Patrick Mahomes miss time in the playoffs. So quarterbacks are getting injured. Stafford, they're getting injured at an astronomical rate right now, and so quarterback room is starting to make a push.
Why?
But it still comes down to that number one quarterback. That's the most important thing. Now, sometimes you get lucky, like Green Bay did with Favre and Rodgers, or the 49ers did with Steve Young and Joe Montana, but that is so few and far between. Give me the elite quarterback over a quarterback room where three guys are roughly the same.
My question is, why are these quarterbacks getting hurt so much? And I'm sure there's a lot of reasons, but I think one of them is that these offensive genius coaches who are like 35, 40, 45, I think they kind of look at the game like Madden, like they're expert Madden players, and they're all in about the X's and O's and the play calling of it, and they kind of look at their players as, replaceable and almost like not real. And so the whole emphasis of protecting them isn't there. Like the Niners in particular are like top 10 in injuries every year, and they just like either just shrug it off like, it's football, like it's what happens, it's how we play, we're very physical, like, okay. So I think it's maybe the fact that these types of coaches have kind of become the big hot thing right now. Like these quarterbacks are becoming collateral damage. All I know is in Seattle, Pete Carroll, who's not the new he's like almost 80 years old. But that dude, I mean, his starting quarterbacks have missed 3 games due to injury in the last like 11 years. And it's not like he has a great offensive line. Like he must be doing something right. I'm not saying it's always the coach's fault when a quarterback gets hurt, but if you can do what Pete's doing, there must be things you can do to protect your quarterback better that I think some coaches privately are like, you know what? I'm not willing to do those things, or I don't even know how.
Yeah, there's got to be something to that because quarterbacks, the league is protecting quarterbacks more than ever. We see the craziest penalties come their way. We're like, what? Can you even touch the quarterback anymore?
Can't even breathe on him.
Quarterbacks are getting injured more than ever. How is that happening?
Well,
like, how can
if you ask Tyler Kroft to block Hassan Reddick, and then when your quarterback is hurt, be like, well, I don't know what happened. Like, well, yeah, then it's going to keep happening. I mean, at some point, it's on you a little bit. Yeah. It's not all bad luck. Oh darn! Hassan Reddick beat Tyler Kroft. Darn! Why didn't anyone tell me that could happen? I thought that was a perfectly fine matchup, but no, you didn't tell me. Did you? You're fired. That reminds me, like, it'd be like Shooter McGavin just firing his caddy because he missed a shot or something. It's like, why didn't you tell me to use the 8-iron?
Shooter. I just may go by the bay.
Eat some
Such
hay.
A good movie. I love that movie. Such a good movie. I think going back to the Eagles Purdy situation, I tend to lean on, hey, Purdy could step up in the pocket. He could have gotten rid of the ball earlier. However, I think both can be true. I still think it was a bad decision by Kyle.
Right.
Like, but you know what I mean? Purdy definitely should have stepped up. Definitely should have released the ball earlier, but he shouldn't have been in that position anyways because he was a rookie quarterback.
And
you should have seen it coming. You're like, come on,
ran the ball. It was 2nd and 6 on the first drive.
And then he did it to Josh Johnson like 2 plays later.
See, again, so here's the thing. So let's go to the Niners again. You have an issue with keeping quarterbacks healthy. I mean, it's been an issue for a long time. How do you address this issue? Do you, A, improve your offensive line, or B, add a bunch of quarterbacks and expect them to get hurt? You went with B. Are you kidding? What? How do you do that? Seattle doesn't do that. You went with B? Are you kidding me? You literally let your offensive line get worse and went with B. And we're taking it seriously. Like, oh yeah, no, that could work out. I think let's see how that goes. That could really work out. It's a perfectly fine decision. I'm sorry, I think it's a little silly.
Quarterbacks get injured. Just get 5 of them. It'll figure itself out.
We got 4. We're good. We're good. All right, sweet. You could have gotten offensive lineman too. That's another thing. Try that next year. If this doesn't work, go the other way next year.
And they will next year because Trent Williams will probably retire. And then it's like, okay, well, they lost their best offensive lineman. So now they got to replace them. That's when we'll take care of it. That's how it's going to work.
I don't know. Okay. So yeah, it's great. It's great to have depth at every position. But if you can't keep your quarterback healthy, it's hard to take you seriously as like a Super Bowl contender. If that's something you can't do ever. And it's like, well, we know we're going to be on our backup at some point. But it's cool because we can win with our backup. Like, yeah, to a point. Yeah. And that was even true with Brock. Like, we all love Brock. But what you could always say a lot of times on this team, the backup's going to come in. There's going to be no tendencies on him. He's going to light it up. But you're like, okay, well, how long is this going to last? And for Brock, it was 8 games. And then he got hurt. And you could say, well, that was a fluke. Or you could say he should have stepped up in the pocket. I don't know. So now when he comes back, his arm isn't going to be as good. Or it'll be as good or maybe not as good. And he wouldn't have had any time this year to work on anything new. So he won't be better. And there will be tendencies on him. People don't understand how smart defensive coaches are and how important tendencies are. If you have an idea of what a guy does on 2nd and 4 to 8 second, like they break it down. They know your tendency. They didn't know. Now they're going to know. It's going to be harder for him. I'm just saying.
I think a lot of people are overlooking this aspect of it. What you just said, Brock Purdy doesn't have an offseason to actually improve. He's rehabbing. And so if you're staying the same, you're getting worse. That's the way that this league works. And so for Brock Purdy, we're not saying this is his ceiling. Like he's never going to get better. But as fans to expect that he's going to get better immediately this season, now, week 1, I think that's unfair. Impossible expectation.
Exactly. And when he doesn't live up to that, and when he doesn't live up to that impossible expectation, our fans going to be like, oh, Brock, he's done. Because that's how fickle the Niners are. He could come back, lose 2 games, not look as good as last year, get benched. Trey comes in, lights it up. Or Darnold, one of the two comes in and it's like, Brock, who? Sorry, man, you were last year. That's how they are. And I'm sure he knows it.
Yeah. So that would be unfortunate.
I just can't get over the fact that the Seahawks, I was looking at them like, they've had their quarterback go to the Pro Bowl 10 of the last 11 years. And they've only had, they always play all the games. There must be something Pete Carroll's doing right. And everyone looks at him as like, oh, he's so stodgy. He's a defensive coach. It's like, okay, he's a head coach. He's a real head coach. And he's been making life easy on his quarterbacks since I was in high school. Like, he made Matt Leinart look good.
It's true.
He made Matt Barkley look good. Those guys were trash. Absolute trash. So it's something I want to look into what he's doing. 75 years old.
You're absolutely right about that. He definitely makes guys look really good, and he does keep them healthy for whatever reason.
Gets no credit for it.
A luck thing or
I said it on Twitter. You're not on Twitter anymore, but I tweeted today. I said, Pete Carroll has developed 2 Pro Bowl quarterbacks, and he's not an offensive coach or even an offensive genius. And everyone's like, oh, he didn't develop them. Like, well, he put together the circumstances for those guys to flourish. Like, what the fuck was Geno Smith doing before he got to Seattle?
Okay, let's go with that for a second. Let's say he didn't develop them. Okay, he didn't develop them. But one thing he did do is he knew the right quarterback to play before everybody else. Because what did they do? Who did they sign from the Packers before they drafted Russell Wilson? Exactly. And they gave him a big contract. And who'd they start? Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson. Were they right? The franchise guy. What did they do? They get rid of him before the league knew he was bad, got a haul for him, and was like, yeah, Geno's pretty good. You'll see. Geno's good. So he may not develop, but he has an eye for the quarterback position a lot more than Kyle does at this point.
But hold on. So like when I say like, hey, Kyle can't develop a quarterback, I get all kind of stuff like, well, it's not Kyle's responsibility. That's not his job.
Mhm.
They have to do it in the offseason. You got to get a personal passing coach. So he doesn't have that. He doesn't have to do it. But then I say, okay, well, this coach over here somehow put the pieces in place for these guys to flourish. And they're like, well, he didn't develop them. So, okay, so Kyle doesn't have to develop quarterbacks, but this guy who did doesn't get credit for it.
Andy Reid never gets credit for developing Mahomes. He traded up for Mahomes, then went to his college, incorporated a lot of the air raid offense into his scheme to make things easier for Patrick Mahomes, but he didn't develop him. He just stumbled upon him. It was blind, dumb luck, I guess, that he got Mahomes. No, he developed him, just like the Bills developed Josh Allen. They just let him play.
How many quarterbacks went to their first? How many quarterbacks went to their first Pro Bowl under Kyle? RG3 Schaub? So no one in 10, 11 years? First Pro Bowl. Like Matt Ryan had been to Pro Bowls before he played with
that's true.
Kyle.
Yeah.
Like Russell Wilson never went to a Pro Bowl. I mean, he got drafted by it. But Geno went to nothing.
Oh, Geno
turning someone from nothing to something?
Yeah.
I mean, you won a Super Bowl with Russell Wilson when he was 25? That's kind of impressive. Could Kyle do that?
That is impressive.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, Kyle does a lot really, really well, but quarterback is not that thing. Not yet, anyways.
And that's the thing. Like Jordan Rodriguez, I don't know how to pronounce her name. Jordan Rodriguez. I'm sorry. I'm not purposely mispronouncing it, but she's very famous. She works for The Athletic, and she's doing an oral history with McVay and Kyle. All about, the greatness of their system, or maybe not that. I mean, I think she's trying to do like the full picture, and I respect that. But when you're talking about an offensive coaching staff, an offensive tree, and how much they've accomplished and how great they are, you really need to acknowledge the quarterback position, because that's a huge gap, and it's the center of the freaking puzzle. They don't have it.
I'm curious to see what LaFleur does with Jordan Love. I want to see what that looks
Interested,
like.
Right? Because that's been his little project for like what?
Yeah.
2, 3 years? 3 years?
That'll kind of tell us, because if he was able to develop him from beginning to end and do it right, and then McVay was able to get Stafford, and I don't know, I'm just saying, it seems like everybody in the trees figured out the quarterback thing, but not necessarily Kyle. So we'll see.
I'm gonna say, like, it seems like McVay understands, like, I don't need to be messing around with young quarterbacks. Like, just get me Stafford. Like, he was developed, and then when Stafford's gone, like, I wouldn't be surprised if he went out and got Kirk Cousins or something.
Kirk Cousins might be there next year.
Exactly. So I think McVay has enough self-awareness to be like, I'm not wasting time. I'm not gonna like hope and pray and then get to the Super Bowl and score 3 points because Jared Goff just isn't ready. Like, I'm not gonna let that happen. Right. Good for him. Kyle, you need to have that epiphany too. You beat the Rams to the punch on McCaffrey, but not Stafford. Like, come on, man, be a little more serious.
And the whole offense changed. They turned into a 3 wide receiver offense. They ran 3 wide receiver sets more than anybody in the league the year after being a run first team.
They lost in the Super Bowl and scored 3 points because the Patriots figured out how to stop the jet sweep, and the Rams were like, "Oh, well, that's our entire offense. We can't do anything else." Now they don't even run the ball anymore.
Yeah.
Like, motion doesn't even matter to them. Like, Niners are so cute on offense. Like, here we are. We're in this. Oh, now we're in a different formation. We changed our formation. Oh, and now he's in motion. And now he's in motion. It's like, you guys have all the best players. Like, why are you doing this? We have all the best players. Why? It doesn't matter. You could go fast. You could just line up and play. And the Rams do that, or they did when they won the Super Bowl. When they won the Super Bowl, when they were healthy that one time. But
you know what the offense reminds me of, or when you at least when you talk about the offense, what it reminds me of, it's like when I was young and I would play like horse or pig with my dad, and he was tall. So, and I'm in 5th grade, so I'm not that tall yet. And he would do a stupid shot like, okay, I'm going to stand on the curb and like fall forward and drop the ball in the hoop. Your turn. And I'm like, I can't even, like, I'm not even tall enough to get it around the rim. And then once all of a sudden I get older and good at basketball, it's like, okay, well, that crap doesn't actually work anymore. But it was cute while it lasted.
It was cute.
No, that's what it
the Niners have by far the cutest offense in the NFL. The Niner fans gonna hate me for that. It's also good. There's nothing wrong with cute, but it is so cute. It is astoundingly cute. It's like adorable
and stuff on them. It's hearts, Care Bears,
just the little details. You know what I mean?
Daisies.
It's like, yeah, man. It's like a note from a girl, but like all the like eyes have like hearts on them and stuff. You know what I mean? And like she cut off the edges of the paper and stuff. So it's like, oh man, she used like different colors and stuff. It's like, they're so cute. Oh my God, she really thought about it. That's Kyle's offense, man. Like, you don't have to be like, just freaking wing it, man. Shoot from the hip once. Your team is so good, man. I don't get it. He's so self-conscious. Maybe he's just a romantic at heart.
What's funny is I don't even necessarily believe that's true about his offense, but the way that you talk about it, it's like, oh, let's run with this. This is funny to me. Let's go.